In addition to Halloween week, it's National Lead Poisoning Prevention Week. So today we are doing what we can to bring awareness to this preventable illness and share ways you can avoid lead poisoning in your home. Kevin Officer is the Childhood Lead Poisoning Prevention Program Manager, and he joins us in studio today with some examples of lead hazards that could be in your home. Thank you so much for being here to talk about this really important topic.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Well, why is it so important to raise awareness about lead poisoning, especially for children and even adults?
Yeah, so one of the things that CDC has come out with recently is saying that no level of lead is safe for anyone. So, that makes it important, and with lead being a very dangerous toxin, it's important for getting kids tested and also adults tested too. So, when we say testing kids, we have really specific guidelines on when we would like to see kids tested, especially younger kids that are kind of toddlers and kind of growing and exploring their environments and touching things and putting things in their mouth.
Oh, yeah.
So we typically recommend testing at 1 year and 2 years of age, and also kind of screening kids, kind of asking parents questions. Recently we updated our Bloodlet testing guidelines in our screening tool. So that's an important tool to use for providers when talking with families and understanding when specifically to test kids.
And is this a simple blood test that you get at like your pediatrician's office?
Yeah, so there are two types of tests that can be done. One is kind of a finger poke, which is a capillary test, and the other one is a little bit more invasive. It's a draw from the vein. So, so those are the two typical tests for determining, whether lead is present.
And what about adults? Should we be doing the same screening test?
Yeah, especially adults that may work in an industry where, they're working around lead. If they're doing specific hobbies around the house that involve lead, we typically see people involved in shooting ranges that like to target shoot, and also in construction. That's a big industry there where adults should get tested, especially if they're working with homes that are built prior to 1978, and especially with Iowa, a lot of it's turn of the century homes. If they're doing work in those homes, to get tested periodically just to see where your lead levels are.
Well, yes, you brought an example with you, this window. That is a common place we might find lead paint?
Yes, especially for children. So, what we typically see when we do go in and do investigations for lead, the windows are one of the top areas where we see kids get exposed at. Because kids love to look out the windows, and they love to, especially little kids, pull themselves up on the window sill. So this example here is of what we typically see when we look for deteriorated paint. So many homes have lead paint, but it's not that they have lead paint in them, it's what's the condition of that paint.
Oh, if it's chipping.
Chipping, peeling, deteriorated, yeah. So this is kind of a good example of what we see. So on the windowsill here, we see a lot of this typical cracking of lead paint. So with lead paint, it cracks and it chips off versus a non-lead paint that may peel off. And that's kind of one of the big differences.
And what you brought this poster too, there are some other places that we'll find lead that we might not think about, like fishing and places like that. Yeah,
so there are other sources of lead that we see that are not as predominant as the windows, but we see things like fishing sinkers. We see things like, especially recently, we've seen a lot of cases of food spices like turmeric and chili powder that have been high in lead. Some ceramics could be high in lead, and just some other things that you see on the poster board here that we have found.
Even certain makeups and jewelry.
Even certain makeups and jewelry, yes.
And you have some kits here. Are these test kits that we can use and just put on the surface of something or put in our spices to see if it has lead, or how does that work?
Well, not necessarily putting your spices. They're mainly for testing for lead paint. So there's two types of kits there that the EPA recommends. One is the D-lead in the bigger box there, and the other one is the smaller lead check.
Oh, okay.
And both of those can be found in any of your home repair stores,
Okay.
Lowe's, Menards, Home Depot, those types of stores. So, and they're relatively inexpensive.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for being here to talk about this. Like I said, such an important topic during this Prevention Awareness Week. We so appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Many retirees spend time on the golf course, but you probably never thought the game of golf can teach you about planning your retirement. Find out how coming up next in Dollars and Cents.